Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Public notice will be read at the start of the public meeting. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Balco?
Here.
Mrs. Bacco?
Here.
Mrs. Bloom?
Here.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mrs. Kenny?
Here.
Ms. Rubio?
Here.
Mr. Walsh? Mr. Syak?
Here. Can I have a motion to retire into executive session?
So moved.
By Mrs. Bloom. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Callahan. Would you read the resolution, please, Ms. Hill?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, and attorney-client privilege on a PERC matter. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Balco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mrs. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh? And Mr. Syak?
Yes. Okay, the meeting's closed. We'll reconvene in public at 7:30. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Take notice this public meeting of the Sayreville Board of Ed was transmitted to the home distributed in the Star Ledger in accordance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Further, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-621, a copy is posted outside the Secretary's office and also filed with the Clerk of the Borough of Sayreville. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Balco?
Here.
Mrs. Bacco?
Here.
Mrs. Bloom?
Here.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mrs. Kenny?
Here.
Ms. Rubio?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Syak?
Here. Could you summarize executive session, please?
The board discussed a matter falling under attorney-client privilege related to PERC. Personnel was on the agenda but not discussed.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll turn it over to our student council representative, Mr. Lewis, for his report.
Hello. As most of you know, the metal detectors were implemented, and although there were long lines and some complaints, I don't think we should complain about inconvenience, and we trust that they will be fixed. Senior prom bids are also being sold next week. I talked about the junior prom bids 2 weeks ago. Senior prom bids are also being sold next week, and now that will move into a couple events in April, including Mr. Sayreville. The representatives are set. The practices will be starting in early April, and then the show will be on April 11th. Spring sports is obviously officially starting with the winter season being celebrated. Scrimmages and games are actually starting to come now. And then FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America Club, is leaving tomorrow. They leave at 5. They'll go down to Atlantic City. They'll do their presentations that they've worked on since September and October. They'll present to multiple judges from across the state in Atlantic City and hopefully go on to nationals and qualify for San Antonio. And then the final thing is opportunity rooms, which have been implemented just 1 month ago. They've been going really well. Students just sign up and then they go into a room during their lunch period, basically providing a study hall / study session for 20 minutes of their lunchtime. And then also National Honor Society members can also help and tutor them if they would like assistance away from just the teacher. So there's a lot going on, and then obviously the spring break is happening, but before that, that's what's going on right now.
All right, thank you. Any questions for our student representative? Following your predecessor's footsteps, Mr. Corby, will you be trying out for Mr. Sayreville?
Yes.
All right, very good.
I have a question. Mr. Lewis, who stole the lava lamp?
That's from A Few Good Men, right?
That was our morning announcement today.
Gotcha.
I stole the lava lamp in Miss Fox Greer's class.
I think it was Mr. Callahan. So.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Labby, I think you've got a series of presentations for us tonight.
Yes, we do. A championship Board of Education meeting, Mr. Syak. So we're going to celebrate our incredible and amazing student athletes, but I want to highlight some other things down here. Please, if you have the time, stick around for our Career and Technical Education Program presentation by Ms. Maharana, who is our Supervisor of Instruction for mathematics and business and so forth. This presentation down here is on our audit. You do not want to be here when we have this presentation. Do not allow yourself to be trapped here for this presentation. I'm just saying. So without any further delay, let's get started in celebrating the amazing young people that took the time to be here today so that we could recognize and celebrate their incredible efforts, not only in athletics, but in the classroom. But today, it's for athletics. Mr. Callahan and Mr. Walsh, can we start with you? In honoring and celebrating, it's like a broken record with this group, the Winter Boys and Girls Track Team. Could you please give some other schools in Middlesex County an opportunity to win a championship, for crying out loud? Every year you have to win it? Here you go.
All right, as Dr. Labby said, again, we're up here again. I know I'll talk about the boys team just briefly. I'll let the coaches do the talking, but I want to congratulate the coach and the team on, I guess this is the third consecutive year winning the white division, so keeping that streak alive. Great job by everybody.
All right. Like Dr. Labby said, this is really like a broken record, and I'm running out of nice things to say about these guys because years ago I had the opportunity to work with the girls' track team. I was the throwing coach. I know you think I was a sprinter coach, but I was doing the throwers. But I can't say enough distance. I can't say enough great things about Coach Pasva and Coach Drabeck. They give so generously of their time. They work hard. They demand the very best of their athletes. They're great people. We're lucky to have them coach our kids. So I'd like to call up Coach Pasva and Coach Drabeck.
Thank you, everyone, once again for inviting us and honoring us here this evening. I want to talk a little bit about our teams. First, I'll start with the boys team. As was already noted, this is the third year in a row that they've won the white division. And fortunately, we're a very young team with a lot of talent, so we're hoping to remain at the top of the division for the next several years. Of everybody who scored in at the GMCs to help us win this championship, all but 3 of them will be returning next year. So, as I said, this should be a team that continues to succeed at the divisional and hopefully at the county level as well. Of all of our athletes, we had a number of students who won all division honors. Dylan Rodriguez, Abe Ohio Kai Benson, Brett Moran, Ibrahim Sano, Josh Naratko, Matt Stowe, Jaden Ennett, Manny Castellano, Alonzo Molina, and Tommy Lewis all won all division. Tommy Lewis was also an all-conference selection, and we're graduating Dylan Rodriguez, who is or has recently signed with Ryder to continue running in college. So it's been a very talented group of young men. All right, right now I'm just going to
ask any of the boys' varsity members to come up when I call your name, and we'll hand out your certificates. Ray Ajala. Manny Castellano. Kai Cox-Allison. Carol Doparala. Jaden Ennett. James Zaffel. Fez Jelani Khan. Tommy Lewis. Alonzo Molina. Brett Moran. Justin Moran. Josh Naratko. Abraham Ohio Kai Benson. Luis Reyes. Dylan Rodriguez. Ibrahim Sano. Matt Stowe. Rob Voto. And Zarel Wright. Now on to the girls' side. We kind of had a changing the guard this year as far as, flipping the teams around this year. Generally, over the last several seasons, the girls have been the dominant team, and the boys have kind of found a way to scratch and claw their way to a championship. This year, the guys decimated the division. There was three events left, and it was mathematically impossible for anyone to catch us. The girls had a closer call this year. We were not quite sure how the season was going to go early on when we lost one of our top point scorers about 2 weeks into practice for the season. We had to kind of all pull together, and kids had to step into roles they weren't used to stepping into. We had freshman and sophomore athletes who were stepping up and scoring points for us at GMCs. We had girls running 2, 3, 4 events at counties, running in events that they had never run in before, rarely run in, to try to kind of scrape together the points we needed. We ended up winning the division by 1.5 points, literally came down all the way to the last event, and had any person in any event, anywhere all night, dropped one place, we would not have made it. So there's really a testament to the balance on our team and the perseverance on our team that the girls all pulled together and did what they had to do to win their 4th consecutive title in a row. We had a number of girls honored postseason as well. Miranda Porta, Samantha Camara, Adisha Simon, London Martinez, and Mona Yawn were all selected to the all-division team. Mona Yawn also was selected to all-conference and is currently entertaining a number of offers from college teams to run next year. She's still trying to select where she's going to be going. So at this time, I'll call out the girls. Juliana Castlegrant. Isabella Dabrowski. Christina DeSarno. Ruth Atois. Samantha Camara. Alyssa Leshy. Leah Lopez. London Martinez. Angela Pastilli. Mila Planton. Miranda Porta. Allison Prieto. Adisha Simon. Taylor Worley. Isabella Wakesa. Leah Williams-White, and Mona Young. Once again, thank you to everyone on the board who invited us here tonight. Sure. Come on up, pictures.
It doesn't say it, but we gave him the award. Well, that's right, because he comes back down there, pretty sure. That's what we handed him, Coach of the Year. Oh, possible. Yeah, but he's done. We'll edit it in. Highlight that part. Oh, he has it. He did. That's well. He's got the others. Well, that's perfect. John, what grade is he? Junior. Nice.
While on the subject of one of our teams not allowing any other teams in Middlesex County to experience victory, Mr. Ivy, how many? Is this 2 in a row or 3 in a row? 2. So we have another team here that is repeating White Division champs. And to help me honor them, I asked Mr. Sayak and Mr. Esposito to join me up front.
Okay, so Mr. Esposito is going to talk about the wrestling team. My job first is to recognize your coach, so I'm going to have Coach Ivy come up, please. So Coach Ivy is the District 17 Coach of the Year. He is also the GMC White Division Coach of the Year. And I called Coach Ivy earlier today and I said, I'm going to be recognizing you for Coach of the Year. What would you like me to say? And he said to me, well, first of all, do you know what it means to be Coach of the Year? And joking with him, I said, yes, I know what it means. It means I'm going to hear about this for the next 365 days. And he said, he got very serious, and he said, no. He says, what it means is that we had an incredibly talented group of athletes who came together to form a phenomenal team. And I think that statement in and of itself embodies what a Coach of the Year is all about. Someone who works with a phenomenal coaching staff, talented athletes, and brings them together as a talented and phenomenal team. And it's not only just a one-year phenomena, as Dr. Labby had indicated. We're now 2 years in a row, but we're actually even further than that, because this year Coach Ivy hit another milestone in that he's earned his 100th win as a head coach, all of which were here at Sayreville. So Coach Ivy, congratulations on being named Coach of the Year.
Real quick, wrestling has to be one of the most demanding sports of them all. You have to be physically and mentally tough. And these students go through brutal practices during the week. and then they come here 6:45 a.m. on a Saturday and wrestle 3 or 4 times that day. It's amazing that what they go through. And Dan Gable said gold medals aren't really made of gold. They're made of sweat, determination, and a hard-to-find alloy called guts. And I have to tell you, when you're alone on that mat and the spotlight's on you and the pressure's on you, I can't imagine how it must feel. But these young athletes perform at an amazing level, and they've done so for 2 years. And we're all very, very proud of you. Congratulations, and keep up the great work. Coach, you want to introduce your team?
Hello? It is. I may have said that about the team, but again, it wasn't nearly as eloquent as the way Mr. Sayak put it. And I also wanted to say, it's funny, in this room, we have probably the one other group of athletes that kind of know what a winter season is like, putting in a 12-hour day, going all by yourself out there, getting carried on by yourself. And when you win, you go on further by yourself. So to the track team, they kind of know what we're doing too, and we know what they're doing as well. So congratulations to you guys. All right, I'm going to call out the team. Real quick about this year, we had a great year as a team. Wrestling's, it's funny, every year I do it, every year's a little different. It's amazing to put together 25 wins when you have 14 weight classes. If you've got any holes, it's going to equal losses. Again, to have 14 weight classes, 14 strong wrestlers equal 25 wins, which was the most in school history. 2 losses, so 25-2, which is the best winning percentage in school history. We had 2 county champs, which was my first ever. My whole time here, I've only had 1 county champ at a time. We got 2 this year. So we won the East Brunswick tournament as a team. We won the Old Bridge tournament as a team. We had 2 county champs, Dylan Acevedo and Ben Arthur. We had Dylan Acevedo, Trevor Mestorio, Elijah Ade Festus, Nino Onetta, Savon Kirksey, and Ben Arthur, all white division. Trevor Mestorio was honored with a GMC's Courageous Wrestler of the Year award. Trevor was also my first ever, and this one I may be the most proud of, because I've never got to nominate a wrestler for an academic type scholarship. So Trevor was the first one to get that, and again, school's well over 10 years, and he was also the 7th wrestler in school history to reach 100 wins, and he'll be wrestling at Stevens this year coming up. So again, all together, we had a phenomenal year. I'm going to call the team up, and yeah, that's it. Here we go. There we go. Jaden Johnson, Dylan Acevedo, Tristan Hidalgo, Christian Binja, Scott Mish, Zachary Weist, Darren Figueroa, Brian De Oliveira, Trevor Mastorio, Dennis Whitford, Jake Wagner, Diego Candelario, Blake Bouchard, Marcos Morera, Sohaib Safri, Elijah Ade Festus, Mihailo Halabunyak, Savon Kirksey, Anthony Esposito, Joseph Procaro, Vincent Reback, Benedict Arthur, Ashley Herndon, Samantha Goldfarb, Alicia Fiola, and Kayla Metz. Second name read, Dylan Acevedo. And then the... Nino might not be there. Nino Onetta, if he wasn't said, he should be there. Captain Nino Onetta, if he was somehow missed. No, he's not on there. 33 wins, Captain Nino Onetta. Again, this is your back-to-back White Division champions, 2018-19 Sayreville Wrestling.
Folks, just like the track team, if we can get in front of the board, we'll do a photo. I don't know, we're going to find out.
If I stand next to Phil, do I look better? Okay.
It's just a
Come on, guys and girls. I need something, man. I'm tired.
It's funny, this is like the first one. You can't say it. Yes, yeah. You can't win.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
So, I mean, the next 10 years, you're almost all our records.
Tuck them in, make 3 rows. Come on, don't make me come out there.
Okay, as I said earlier, we have 2 more presentations, one of which you want to escape here from seeing, but this one you do not want to. Some of you may or may not know, our professionals have put a great deal of time developing what is called our Career in Technical Education program, led by Ms. Maharana, who is our math instruction supervisor. Today, she's going to make a presentation to you on our new Career and Technical Education program. I believe there's a panel too, Ms. Maharana, right? You, Dr. Shediak, and a list of other people which you'll cover in your presentation. So please give a big hand for Ms. Maharana.
Take care, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening, Board, for giving me an opportunity today to update you on the progress on the Career and Technical Education program that we are pursuing in the Sayreville Memorial High School. Let me start with a question and a little bit of history behind what is a career pathway. So on July 22nd of 2014, there was a landmark legislation passed to strengthen and improve the workforce of our skilled workers in America. And it was also an effort to benefit the youth, especially who faced significant barriers to getting employment. And that is where we have the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It is an act to strengthen our public workforce. And from it emerged something called as a career pathway. If you look at this infographic up here, there is at the core a well-centered, well-connected, transparent education, training, credentials, which builds up into multiple entry points for a targeted population and students. They enter this skill or workforce at various milestones with appropriate skill set. At the same time, they can exit this workforce and return to their education when they are ready. And there's this bridge that connects the multiple entry points to the exit points, which is well informed, which is a pathway to facilitate the progress, which is kind of a strategy between the workers and the employers to make informed decision about today's workforce and the need of a global workforce. So it is very interesting to see how we can support our students. We are at step 2 at the high school offering a career and technical education program. So as you know, we cannot accept anything unless and until we have data supporting it. And according to a Gallup poll conducted in 2014, 87% of Americans agree that students should receive more education about possible career choices. 70% of our Americans believe that there has to be more emphasis on preparing students for career fields, and every 6 in 10 Americans feel that students should be required to participate in at least one volunteering or paid internship position in the high school. What are the benefits of a career pathway? Students do get industry-valued credentials, dual credit through post-secondary institution, in-demand industry focus. They get exposure to real-world learning, as well as they get higher skilled workforce by adapting to cutting-edge technical expertise, different opportunities to visit work sites, participate in internship, as well as gain college and career readiness, which helps eventually to build a strong economy. So how can we deliver a career pathway through our CTE program? As you look at this Venn diagram, it is the components of a good career and technical education includes career development, programs of studies, and partnerships. Now, programs of studies would mean that we are providing our students with work and training. Career development would mean that we are exposing students to participate through our clubs that make them ready for real life like DECA and BLA, as well as we give them the academic and technical skills. All this come together, and the center or the intersection of this is college and career readiness for our students. So let's imagine a reality. So what's the reality that I'm talking about? Where all learners are given an opportunity to support and realize their full potential. They have access to high quality education that leads to possible rewarding careers, gain the skills when they need them. That's right in the schools, without the limitation of time or space. They encounter no barriers between academic and technical instruction, secondary and post-secondary education, and they are empowered with the information that they need to map this flexible pathway with the help of our knowledgeable experts. So that's what the reality is when CTE program is introduced. What CTE program does is it delivers a progressive, coherent course of study to our students. It also provides technical skill proficiency, industrial certification. There are different ways that students can earn certification. The state has recognized NOCTI as an assessment tool that would provide certification to our students. It also includes an applied learning skill that contributes not only to the academic knowledge, but to the technical and employability skills. And the last thing is the CTE program requires us to maintain an advisory board or a committee to stay current. And we do have a committee, which I'm going to talk a little bit later. It also, as I said earlier, incorporates applied cross-curricular interdisciplinary instructional strategies It provides opportunities to our students to develop college and career readiness through our clubs, technical organizations. We have the FBLA, DECA, and National Business Honor Society. And it prepares, the most important thing is it prepares students for entry-level employment. Now, New Jersey has identified 8 key clusters, okay? They are listed up there: pharma industry, transportation, logistics, distribution, that's another one. Finance is the third one. Advanced manufacturing, healthcare, technology, construction utilities, and leisure, hospitality, and retail. So these are the key industries in New Jersey. What CTE has done is kind of divided that into 16 clusters. As you can see, each cluster has a lead in New Jersey. This year, Sayreville Memorial High is focused on 2 clusters. One is finance, and the second one is marketing. Again, there was a study done by Fordham Institute to say, okay, we have our career pathways. Does it really, really improve student outcomes? And it was, the key points from the report is the more number of career technical education courses the students take, they have an increased chance of graduating from high school, increased probability of being employed with higher wages. And the dual enrollment, it magnifies the positive impact when they go into colleges. CT concentrators are 21% points more likely to graduate than high school as compared to other students. And this has shown a significant impact on male and low-income students. It provides, the CT program provides them a terrific boost. So what does this committee recommend? It recommends to offer CTE courses aligned to skills and industrial credentials. It just encourages to students not to just choose courses within the program, but to focus on one program of study to be successful. And it just asks to create those dual enrollment opportunities to make credits stackable from high school to college. New Jersey Department of Ed also has a statewide goal on building capacity for career pathways, and I'm happy to say that Sayreville War Memorial High School is aligning itself to that goal, which is to increase access and opportunities for New Jersey students to participate in high-quality CTE education programs. So where are we right now? We surveyed students, large group of students, and almost 70% of students said that they want to choose a business major, and of which 46.2% of students said that they want to take or participate in a business academy. The top 2 choices were finance and marketing. And that's why we wanted not just to give them, this is what program of study you will be enrolled into, but we wanted to have student voice in choice. So after the survey went out, we collected the results, and then we kind of chose our 2 program of study that we're going to focus on this year. One is accounting, one is marketing. We have been talking with the NJDOE cluster leads to inform us about the things that are required to successfully incorporate CTE program in our high school. So what does it look like as of now? Grade 10, they will start with business, org, and management, and economics/financial literacy, which are, financial literacy is non-negotiable, it's a graduation requirement. For the marketing strand, they're going to start with the same 2 courses. When they go to grade 11, they're going to take financial accounting honors for the accounting program study, and then move on to managerial accounting. For the marketing program of study, We're going to start with business org and financial literacy, essentials of marketing, and then go on to sports and entertainment marketing or entrepreneurship. The best thing coming out of this program of study is the capstone project. The capstone would focus not only on the accounting and the marketing program of study, but it's going to develop a portfolio that's going to help our students get jobs and whether they want to pursue business majors in colleges. So we are going to give them a real-life application skill, and we're going to find that perfect balance between what they learn through academics and balance it with their technical skills and applied learning. So we are very, very excited. We have our business teacher right here, Ms. Drabek, who has been very instrumental in this entire process. And I want to end this presentation with a word of thanks for the CT Advisory Board. They have been very, very instrumental. We have been meeting several times during this school year. Not only they inform us about the current trends, but they help us, okay, what's the next step? How are we going to make sure that there is a smooth implementation of the CT program? We have created a promotional video, and we are getting positive responses from our students. So I want to first thank Dr. Shediak, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. Mr. Stephen Casano, I can't have enough words to describe how helpful he has been to this team. He came out and spoke to almost 200 students about real-life skills, soft skills, writing a resume, and giving them all the nuts and bolts of the transition from high school to college. So I'm very, very thankful to Mr. Casano. He has been here. We have been meeting several times during the year. Ms. Donna Sicola, our supervisor of guidance and district test coordinator, she was helping me with the scheduling and what it would make better for the students to optimize and have more students enrolled in the CTE program. Dr. Defina, she is the representative for special education students. And I cannot thank enough Ms. Drabek, Ms. Berman, and Mr. Mazio, who are teacher of businesses in our business academy, as well as who teach business courses. They have been with me all throughout the journey for this program. And our three students, Ms. Patel, Ms. Chandrika, and Mr. Brown, who have been instrumental giving a student voice and what students think, how this program should move on in the future. So I cannot thank enough to my advisory board. That's all that I have. And I have been bothering Mr. Callahan as to what should a capstone project look like. So he has been helping me out too. Thank you, Mr. Callahan.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Maharana?
Board members with questions?
I just have one question. This is great, by the way. Great presentation. and
Great job.
It's awesome, the direction we're heading. So we're starting this in 10th grade, for the most part. My question is, are we doing anything prior to 10th grade to see if perhaps they might be interested in either teaching or business or any other track that they may want to pursue before they commit to it?
Yes, since this is the first year of our designing, creating, Ms. Sicola and Mr. Glue have worked together to introduce Naviance in the middle school as a career exploration option. So now students can think, oh, what career choices fit best for me? And I think slowly but steadily we're going to build that, and students will kind of think earlier that which career option is good for me. So I'm thankful for Mr. Gluhowski and Ms. Sicola for introducing those electives in the middle school, which will give us a boost in improvising the CT program.
That's great. Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
No questions, just a comment. I thought it was an excellent report, and it's probably the most tangible program I've seen in regards to our Vision 2030 philosophy
it really hits on what I think where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. So it's a great report. Thanks.
Great job. Great job.
I agree with that, and I was thinking, I mean, Vision 2030 wasn't only about the college graduating class of 2030, it was about students who are in the workforce in 2030. I love the connection that you have here to the concept of educational equity, because when you talk about imagining that learning community, what you're really talking about is educational equity, which what I'm seeing on a national level is kind of the next frontier in terms of what education is going to be focused on and addressing. Really great job on the presentation, and I love the course sequence. I guess my question, looking one step ahead, what does this now do for our cooperative business education program? Because I see this as a program that's really going to appeal and target kind of the middle. I mean, it may appeal to advanced students, it may appear to appeal to special ed as well, but I really see this targeting that average student and making high school even more relevant and engaging to them. And I'm wondering what the next iteration looks like.
So what we are seeking help from the community to make the co-op program more relevant to what the student wants to do in the future and match with their goals and provide internship based on what they want to do in the future. So currently we have them posted in the schools, in various job locations, but we want to make them relevant. So if a student, so that they get relevant experience through the program.
So you're having difficulty finding companies that are willing to have co-op students?
Yes.
Okay. All right, other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Another tidbit of information to share with regard to our CTE program is that by the year, I believe, 2020, it should make us eligible to receive Perkins grant funding.
Excellent. And I remember we used to get that, but then, like I said, our focus on business kind of dwindled
Correct.
a little bit, and that's what caused the grant funding to
And
go
one
up.
of the requirements in receiving Perkins grant funding is you have to have a CTE program.
Got it. Excellent.
And our final presentation, for those that were brave enough to stick around, Ms. Hill is going to give a brief presentation on our comprehensive annual fiscal report and auditor's management report.
It's here, never mind. Yep, got it. Okay, good evening. This presentation is for the 17-18 school year audit, so it was the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. The audit took place over several weeks in fall 2018. This is much later than we usually present the audit due to the state's late delivery of guidance related to GASB 75. We will be posting the complete comprehensive annual financial report as well as the auditor's management report after board approval. But tonight's presentation will be limited to just two schedules from the audit as well as information on the recommendation in the audit. The first schedule we'll be presenting is Exhibit B2 from the audit, and this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, but only for governmental funds. The general fund is the first column in this report. This is where we show all of our local tax levy that's received, our state aid, any federal funding, which would be E-rate, as well as miscellaneous revenues, which include tuition, facility rentals, and interest. That's the general fund, and next to that is the special revenue fund. The special revenue fund includes any funds received from another entity that is being used for a specific purpose. So in the local section, somebody could donate funds to the board, which they would say, we want you to use this for this certain program or whatever the case is, and that would be considered special revenue. It also includes any non-public funds that are provided by the state that the board administers to the non-public schools that are local to us. As well as the federal funds in here would be for IDEA, as well as the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is provided by the federal government. The next column is Capital Projects Fund. We did not have any capital projects in the 17-18 school year, so that column will be blank all the way through. And then finally, the Debt Service Fund is for our bond payments, which includes any local tax levy and state funding. And then finally, the last column is the total. So we have a total for all of those funds combined. So our total revenues are down at the bottom line, and then the report continues to show our expenditures. Our expenditures are broken down into various categories. These include regular instruction, special instruction, any kind of other instruction, tuition, student and instruction-related services, general administrative services, school administrative services, central services and administrative information technology, plant operations and maintenance, pupil transportation, as well as any unallocated benefits provided throughout the district. We also have in here our transfer to charter schools, so the district does pay charter school tuition for any local students that go to a charter school. Then we have our special schools, which includes our learning academies as well as our summer school program, our debt service, and any capital outlay, which would be our capital projects that we do in the summer. So our general fund encompasses all of those categories. Our special revenue is really special instruction and student instruction-related services, and debt service would just be the debt service on the principal and interest. Lower in that report, we have our excess of revenues over expenditures. We were fortunate enough to have excess revenues over expenditures. We also have down at the very last line is our fund balance ending June 30th, 2018. For our general fund, it is $7,325,312.70. For our debt service fund, it is $74,934.08, for a total fund balance of $7,400,246.78. This all ties into the next schedule, which is B1. It seems a little out of order, but B1 makes a little bit more sense after you read B2. B1 will show you our assets. So this is where the district has cash as well as any receivables. So these are anything that the district was owed as of June 30th, 2018, and this gives you our total assets. You'll notice that this number is different than our fund balance, but you'll see in the next part of the Schedule Y. So our total assets for all of our governmental funds is $10,127,639.31. So finally, the last part of this schedule is our liabilities and fund balance. Our liabilities include any accounts payable at June 30th. So if you take our liabilities and add them to the fund balance, you'll get our total liabilities and fund balance, which equals our total assets up at the top. For the general fund, again, our total fund balance is $7,325,312.70, plus our liabilities of about $1.4 million. In total for the district, again, our fund balance equals out to $7,400,246.78 for a total district liabilities and fund balance of $10,127,639.31. The second page of B1 brings over our fund balance at the starting portion of this schedule. The rest of this schedule is mostly accounting entries. We add in the district's value with our cost of assets, and we reduce it by any accumulated depreciation. The cost of our assets would be all of our physical assets in the district, so that increases the value of the governmental fund. We also add in the internal service fund, the fund balance from that account, and we also take out any long-term liabilities, including any bond payments or pension liabilities or compensated absences liabilities, and some various other outflows and inflows related to pension and leases and certain accounts payables related to pension. This gives us a net position for our total governmental activities of $18,788,990.91. The next schedule we have is not really a schedule, it is our recommendation. The district did have one recommendation from the auditors in this audit, and it was not financial. The number is 2018-001, and it reads that the district's DRTRS report be reconciled with the records used for the application for state school aid, ASSA. This essentially means that the district's report that they submit every year to the state, which reports where our students are transported to and from, did not match the same report that we sent to the state on the same day for our application for state school aid. Also on the agenda tonight, we have our corrective action plan related to that finding. To address this finding, we are going to go back and review the most recent DRTRS report and compare it to the most recent ASSA report and any supporting documentation, and confirm if the software changes we've made have resolved the previous discrepancies. Going forward, we'll review the DRTRS report and compare it to the ASSA report and any supporting documentation prior to submission and resolve any discrepancies. Unfortunately, we got this audit finding after we submitted the DRTRS report, so we do have to go back and review it. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Before we get to questions, first of all, I apologize to the public. I realize that you now have PowerPoint slides that are about this big, and you can't see those numbers. So this will be on our website tomorrow, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I do have more copies of this in the room. I can bring them out.
Oh, that would be great for anybody
Yeah.
who
Let me go,
wants
I'll
them.
go grab them.
Well, and we always connect a LinkedIn TalkSoup to it, but yeah.
Yeah, but you're correct. And then certainly, if you want an email, just see Ms. Hill, she can get you an email copy. Board members, questions on the audit? Okay. Oh, yes.
The ASSA recommendation or finding,
Yeah.
is it because we had a change of personnel, that's why it slipped through the cracks maybe? Or, because we never had this one before, I never seen this one before, I was kind of surprised.
No, I expect that it was probably an issue in the past. I don't know that it was checked in the past in the audit process. We believe it was an error of communication between our transportation software and our student information software, which was PowerSchool. We've now switched to Encore, so we think that's resolved the problem, but we're gonna go back and make sure.
And you check it before October this year, I assume?
Yeah,
You
it's
check
from
it-
October.
Other questions on the audit? All right, thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to district highlights. Mr. Esposito.
Excuse me. One second. There we go. Okay. First, we'd like to thank the Eisenhower and Truman Elementary Schools. They participated in American Heart Association's Kids Heart Challenge. It's formerly known as Jump Rope for Heart. Eisenhower students raised $4,830, and the Truman students raised $12,580 for a total of $17,410. Great job by them. On February 8th, Arlith hosted their annual PTO Science Night for students and parents of the school. 150 students attended this fun and educational event. Students visited different stations, watching various experiments and participating in hands-on activities. We'd like to thank all of the Sayreville Middle School Student Council students who helped run the various stations. The highlight of the night was an inflatable planetarium where students learned about different stars and constellations that they see in the night sky. So we want to thank the Arlith PTO for their making that possible. And lastly, we would also like, we honored the boys and girls track and wrestling, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that James Zola is the girls bowling coach, and congratulate him for being named GMC White Division Coach of the Year. And that's it for highlights.
Okay, thank you very much. Correspondence, we've got the technology and maintenance work order reports. Moving on to the approval of minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and executive session for March 5th.
So moved.
By Mr. Walsh, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Bloom. Any comments on the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a roll call on the minutes, please?
Mr. Balco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mrs. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Sire?
Yes. Dr. Labby, would you take us through your superintendent's report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Sack. I'd like to begin with number 11. As you saw from the presentation, now we're asking you to approve the comprehensive annual financial report and auditor's management report for the 2017-18 school year, as well as the recommendation noted by Ms. Hill. Number 12, which you can find on page 3 as well, we're asking you to approve the corrective action plan that Ms. Hill noted for that recommendation. Number 13, which you can find on page 3 and 4, we're asking you to approve the proposed tentative budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020. As everyone knows, that proposed budget has to be submitted to the Department of Education tomorrow.
Yes.
We had to wait this long, obviously, because we needed to see what our state aid was going to be. So that budget is there, listed in the amount of $95,917,114, with a tax levy increase, with a tax levy of $63,320,018. You can find all of that on page 3 and 4. Number 15, which you can find on page 4 and 5, we're asking you to approve an agreement for professional services between us and the engineering firm CME Associates, in which we shall pay the firm $9,500 for the purpose of the professional services related to the track resurfacing at the high school. You can also find that on pages 4 and 5. Moving along to number 20, which you can find on page 6, we're asking you to accept a generous donation of 2 elementary height salad bars valued at $7,000 from the Chef Ann Foundation Let's Move Salad Bars to Schools grant. It's actually a grant that Ms. Brown applied for, and I'm happy to say it is an incredibly popular item during our high school lunches. We started it, I believe we started it 2 weeks ago, and the kids are all over it. In fact, we got the first salad bar in, and it was so crowded with students using it, we had to put in a second one. So now we have 2 salad bars working, and I have to tell you, per each lunch, just an estimate, ballpark of 50 to 60 kids utilizing the salad bars. So big hit, and again, thanks to Ms. Brown for applying for that grant and receiving it and implementing it as fast as she possibly could.
They're located in the high school, these two?
Yeah, it's elementary height salad bars, but they're right here in the high school. Numbers 25 and 26, you can find that on the addendum. We're asking you to approve a resolution to submit alterations at the middle school as well as the Truman Elementary School. These are for the boys and girls locker rooms at the middle school and the final partition, believe it or not, at the Truman School. We have to actually, as we talked about before, these projects have to be added to our long-range facilities plan. This is a request of the Department of Education for us to do so. And it's a standard resolution that is necessary. We did the same thing for the security vestibules when we went ahead and moved forward with those. And then finally, also on the addendum, we're asking you to approve the submission of the amended application for funding under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act or the Every Student Succeeds Act. As you know, we are receiving an additional $56,281 through the School Improvement Award to assist our middle school in meeting the progress goals that we have set forth in our Title I program. Any questions on Vision 2030 finance and infrastructure?
There were any changes made to the board secretary's report or the treasurer's report
Since when?
since the ones I got on Friday?
No.
There's a difference in cash.
Shouldn't be.
Can I make a motion to table it so we get them straightened out?
If you're looking at the total cash balance on the treasurer's report, it's the cash balance plus the capital reserve account, the maintenance reserve account, and the emergency
I mean,
reserve
just look at the
account.
cents, you can see it's off.
There's a 3-cent
Different,
disconnect.
yeah, right away, you can see it. I mean,
If you add up all those, I think it comes out to 90 to 95, I
we're
think, but it's 98.
578 or something like that, yeah.
Okay,
It was a
you-
de minimis
that's fine.
amount, so it didn't really trigger. I figured it would be cleaned up in
Yeah.
the following month, but
Yeah. I mean, if you want to just table the treasurer's report?
Is that the one you think is,
Yeah,
Off?
I can't change the board secretary's report.
can we table the
So we'd
treasurer's
have to,
report?
yeah, we could table the treasurer's report.
Make motion to table the treasurer's report?
okay, I have a motion to table the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any comments? All in favor of tabling the treasurer's report? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion's carried, and you'll present at the next meeting a revised treasurer's report.
Any other questions or comments on finance and infrastructure?
Just to, Ms. Hill, I need to abstain on CME Associates, both the item on the agenda as well as the item on the bills list.
Okay.
Is this under finance, the
budget?
calculation of, yes?
Yeah, the budget's under this section.
I just have some concerns with the tax rate calculation. Did you update the assessed values for this year?
I called the tax assessor in Sayreville, and that's the number that he provided.
Can you look at last year's? Are these the same numbers as last year?
They are. That's the number that I was
Did
given.
you ask the right
when
question? I don't,
I asked him
'Cause this is
for
all
the
wrong.
most
I mean-
recent, and that's what he provided.
they're all wrong. It's like, it's, because you've,
I mean, it may be wrong, but that's what I was given, that's all I can really do.
I just, I would caution you guys to go,
I can ask again for updated information.
don't go public with these numbers, because the numbers are wrong, down the bottom.
Okay.
That's,
Again, I can ask for additional information from the town, but
How
that's
do
what
we-
I was
how do
given.
How do we verify that number? Is it,
I mean, it comes out, it's certified by the county, like January 10th or something like that, so it's out there. It's,
yeah, but I'm asking, so, I mean, do we call the count, where can we,
I mean, the assessor should know. Whenever I need the number, I always ask the assessor to get the number, and they gave me a different number back in January. I don't know why they would give you this number.
That's what I was given when I called, and I told him that was the same number I had before, and he said that's the most recent number.
It's the wrong number, that's all I can tell you. It's,
I mean, I can recalculate that, that's actually not part of what we're approving at this point, that would be
yeah, but I'm
the
just
final
trying to
adoption.
caution you guys, don't go saying it's gonna be a 0.2 cent increase or something like that, or, average house, what's the average taxpayer? 85, 75, because that's not gonna be accurate until you put the right numbers in.
all right, so what I would suggest is if you can get in touch with the tax assessor, let's get a written correspondence from them with the number, and let's make sure that
Is it online?
it's in writing,
No problem,
and then we can update from there.
okay.
Other questions? Okay, and
I'm sorry, can I just clarify where Dan is looking? I'm just
No,
not
the bottom,
following.
the tax rate calculation is at the bottom of the,
Because the assessed homes are
no,
incorrect?
the total assessed value of the town
Oh,
is last year's numbers and prior year's numbers instead of,
what they do is they take the total tax levy, the $60 million, and they divide that by all of the ratables in the town to get out to an individual per $100 of assessed property value impact, which is your tax rate. So if that ratables number is incorrect, it's going to incorrectly state the tax impact. Has no impact on the tax levy, because the amount of money that we're budgeting is the amount of money we're budgeting, but it would result in a miscommunication to the residents with regard to the impact of the budget on the average assessed homeowner.
but it doesn't affect what we're discussing here in terms of our budget.
It doesn't affect our budget and what we're spending, but what it would impact is the impact to the average homeowner in terms of a tax increase. So we want to make sure we get that number verified so that we can communicate out to the residents what the average impact would be.
I just want to get clarification, because I was understanding your question about it being the average assessed home value.
no,
Is
no,
it
no.
the valuations you have an
The
issue
total
with?
valuation is,
The valuations are given to me by the state. They're pre-populated in the budget software. They base it on October, and that's the number I'm supposed to use. So that's what both numbers on there are from.
okay, so when we, okay, so it's gonna be different than when the actual tax bills come out, because the
Yes,
actual tax
and this
bills
is
are based.
not what I
Because-
provide to
right,
the board and
board.
what we discuss. It can change, but that's the number that the state provides, and that's what I'm supposed to use. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
So
I
we-
thought you were talking
okay.
about the valuation,
Okay.
and that's what I talked to the assessor
Because I
about.
work with the real numbers, I don't work
Right,
with this.
and that's not what when we do the budget, that's not the numbers that we work off of. It's based on the October, I believe it's October 15th.
Yeah, October 15th is one day,
Yeah.
then January 9th, or January 10th.
Yeah, so
is
it's
the
the
next
October
week.
15th number that the state provides, and that's the number that we're supposed to use.
All right, any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
At one of the previous budget presentation meetings for the technology budget, you had stated that everything had been cut. Was that all restored?
Yes.
It was. On this budget where you have there's a column that says original, is that the original budgeted number or an adjusted original? When
The
it's
summary sheet that I provided,
No, on this document, there was, it said current, approved, proposed. Is there
that's the current appropriations, and that's from approximately January 31st. So that's after any transfers have been made. It's not the original appropriations.
it wouldn't be the original?
No.
For healthcare, there was a $9.8 million number, and it said, was that the original budgeted number from last year?
The current appropriation listed there is not, no.
What does that $9 million number mean?
that was the current appropriations, the current value in that account on January 31st.
On January 31st?
Yes.
So when you have the increase in the healthcare, sorry, I lost the page it was on.
It's close to the end. It's like the second to last page.
The second to last page. Okay, yeah, the 9.788, that was the January 31st number?
Yeah, and I don't know if you recall, we transferred funds out of that account into the administrative lines. We're not allowed to exceed the current appropriations in the administrative lines in the budget, but we're allowed to transfer up to 10% into the administrative lines. So I do a temporary transfer in, and then once we get into February, I transfer out. Because the
Okay,
numbers
what
that,
was that original number? Do
the
you know what
original
that was?
appropriations, if you give me a couple minutes, I can find that for you.
Okay, and because I assume your 8.75 is the 10 over the 9.7? Is that a mathematical calculation?
Yes.
All right, so that's not, the 9.788 isn't necessarily what we budgeted last.
No, it's not. And actually, I did include the original appropriations on the summary sheet that I gave with the Finance Committee summary. So I'm just going to pull that up for you right now to let you know what that was. Okay, so the original appropriations, oh, you know what, this is for that entire fund. So give me for that entire section. So I mean,
Okay,
it's going to
and-
take me a minute to pull
All
it
right,
up.
so when you looked it up, could you also get what your projection of the actual is and what the difference is? The projection of the actual cost for this year. Do you have a projection?
Oh, I'll try to give you my best guess right now.
I mean, we should be pretty close by now.
Yeah.
So what is the projected 4%? What are you, when you project 4%, what numbers are you using to get the 4% increase?
I'm using the current enrollment, and I'm putting 4% onto it.
Yeah, well, but she's getting you information, correct?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to wait for,
Oh.
if you want
I
to move
have
on.
it, I have it now.
Okay.
Oh,
And you're just looking at the medical benefit premiums, correct?
Right, the one that would be on that particular line is
So
good enough.
the original appropriations were $10,199,122.
That was the budgeted number or the actual?
That was the budgeted
The
number.
budgeted.
Mr. Baca, did you have anything else, or?
The things we added, I know we added lacrosse, but Mrs. Badami, didn't she have a lot of middle school projects she wanted to throw in here because would help with future teams at the high school?
Yes, she did, but we decided that we were going to wait until the new collective bargaining agreement comes out.
In lacrosse, that's,
Because there's actually no descriptor right now for an assistant coach at the middle school.
is lacrosse co-ed, is?
Lacrosse, there'll be a girls' team and a
and
boys' team.
Okay.
Other questions on the budget? Okay.
Moving along to Vision 2030 Student Achievement, numbers 1 and 2, we just have some co-curricular trips and activities for you to approve. Any questions or concerns or comments on student achievement? Seeing none, I move along to Vision 2030 Governance, along with our annual HIB report. Number 2, and excuse the typo in the next one, but number 2, we're asking you to approve the Teamsters Local 469 holiday schedule, which is an annual motion that we ask you to approve, and that's for the 1920 school year. And then, upon request, we have for you to approve the 2020-2021 school district calendar. We're getting that out a little bit early for you, based upon the fact that we've added some days for particular religious holidays. Are there any questions on items number 2 or 3, which can both be found on pages 12 and 13?
There was talk about revising this year's calendar if we don't use that last snow day. When do you think? April, do you think?
I'm going to wait till like
You gotta wait for, I
June
mean.
20th to make that announcement. You know what, Mr. Balca, don't jinx it.
I don't
even want to talk about it right now. But as soon as we are, I think the appropriate time would be after spring break to make that announcement. My fingers and toes are crossed, though, that we'll be able to do so. Any other questions or comments on governance? Seeing none, I'll move to personnel. Obviously, we do have another one of those bittersweet moments. We're going to ask you to accept the retirement of another beloved staff member here at Sayreville, in Sayreville, Miss Nancy Apito, who has been a paraprofessional in Sayreville for over 26 years. Nancy began her career as an aide in the classroom before becoming a one-to-one paraprofessional for many different students over the course of her career. She has a warm, gentle demeanor and is always willing to lend a hand to help her students as well as other students daily. Nancy is very diligent in her daily work and always worked with classroom teachers extremely well to create a cohesive, safe classroom environment for her students and all the students in those classrooms. She has worked at several of our schools in the district, including the Wilson Elementary School, the Samsel Upper Elementary School, and the middle school. We wish Nancy nothing but the very best on her retirement. We wish her a happy and healthy retirement. And again, on behalf of the Sayreville Public Schools staff and faculty and administration, we would like to wish her nothing but the best in her retirement and thank her for the outstanding service that she has provided our school district and most importantly, our students. Moving along, before we get to what I have on my slides, I do have to point out there is an error on number 3, motion number 3, if I can bring your attention to that. As we normally do for any of our teachers that are in a special education position, they do get $125 added to that. That, for Megan Brown at the Truman School, we neglected to add the $125 to her salary, which would change the total amount. So that $68,000 should be $68,125 under the 2018-19 salary. And then when you go ahead and compute her longevity, it's now $68,875. So I apologize for that, but if you could please make that change right now. Once again, Megan Brown, very top person. The 2018-19 salary should read $68,125, and then when you include longevity, it should now be $68,875. Okay? Numbers 10 and 11, as well as 18, which can be found on page 16 in the addendum, we have some new certificated and non-certificated staff here to approve. And then finally, number 12, we're asking you to approve the transfer of all of our part-time day campus security monitors to full-time campus security monitors for the 2018-19 school year. Any questions on Vision 2030 personnel? Seeing none, that concludes my report, Mr. Sire.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the superintendent's report?
I have another question. Well, two questions. One is for Eric. Since the technology budget was restored, will that give us a one-to-one for device for next year?
That's the plan at this point in time, with breakage and other items.
So the funds are there now?
Yes.
Okay. And the other question I have, back to this assessed value, if we're projecting the $85 and then the other, I'm not sure how we did this in the past, but if the other side of town projects theirs, are we using the same basis that Borough Hall uses? Like, can the public add the two together? Is it apples to apples? Do you know?
No, because they're using an October date, because that's what,
And the town
that's
goes
the format.
January to December, correct?
Yes.
And we go June or July to June. So it's different, our years don't match up.
But has it
Wait.
always been that we didn't match?
In 25 years, I've never heard of a disconnect on the ratables, so I'm,
Because Emidio used to get the number the borough used. That was,
Right.
that's the disconnect
We did
here.
have a
That's-
major disconnect one year from a video, and it was
Yeah.
very off, remember? And
Yeah.
then we fixed it. So I don't know if we're reverting back to that problem now?
What,
I mean, it's, what I could do is I could get the more recent rateable value and I
Just to
could
get
give
the
you both.
more accurate numbers.
But what I submit to the state, I need to use that rateable number. So, but if you want it for your purposes,
For the
that's
public, it might
fine.
be better to give them the
That's
the
fine,
real
I can
numbers.
do that.
And if, yeah, next year maybe we'll try
Yeah, it's
to
just replacing a number in the spreadsheet, so that's
just moving
easy
one
enough.
number over, putting a new number in.
So then we would know the true, more accurate, real number than the $85 number.
So let's discuss this at the next Finance Committee meeting. And hopefully we'll have some information from the borough as well, and we can add them together, because certainly if the tax levy is going to move dramatically, that may affect the ultimate budget that we put forward.
Well, assessed value went up, so it's going to help the tax rate, which is.
Yeah, it should.
Because, yeah, it hasn't gone down since Sandy, so it
Right.
should be.
And I do have an answer to Mrs. Backman's question from before about the health benefits. So my estimates as of right now for what we're gonna spend total this year, or what the budget amount is, because we do have the employee share of the health benefits, so that brings it down a bit. As of right now, I have $10,344,634. I do not have the most up-to-date, employee contributions, so that could go down. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the superintendent's report?
Can I just point something out? Ms. Kenny brought it up. As far as the one-to-ones, especially at the high school, at any given time, there are 400 kids eating lunch and a couple of hundred kids in gym. So that kind of precludes the need of exactly one-to-one, because there are hundreds of devices that would not be being used at any one given period. And she brilliantly brought that up, so I think I mentioned that to Eric as well.
And Mrs. Kenny, you also wanted to say something?
Something different,
Something,
but
okay.
I'll just address that first. Unless, when we say one-to-one, the students are having them for the entire day, so that during lunch, et cetera, they can be working on, projects if they're actually carrying them with them, but not if they were housed in, carts.
No, the plan at the moment is that they are housed in carts, but while that is true that certain periods of the day there are lunch, and other periods of the day there are not. At any given period of the day, we will probably be using the vast majority, or at least have the ability to use the vast majority of those. It is true that maybe there'll be a cart or, two carts that are not at any given time, but even the PE program, I don't know if Ms. Badami is still here, but they use Chromebooks in PE and health programs as well. So yes, there are periods of the day in which 100% of the Chromebooks would not be in use, but there are other periods of the day where it would probably be pretty close.
So I think that it's great if it can be done. I think what we were just saying is that if there were not exactly one-to-one, it wouldn't be a complete crisis, because there
No.
still would be plenty, to go around for everyone to use, that we shouldn't get so hung up on that specific number of one-to-one. That
And
was really the
Any given
conversation.
time, we're making repairs, replacements as well, so there's always a fluctuation in number. But the end goal is we will have usable devices for all of our students for whatever need they may have in their academic programs.
And Mrs. Kenny, you got something else?
Yeah, I just was curious about, between numbers 12 and 18 with the full-time security monitors. And this could be very, I don't know, maybe I should know this, but is step one, step two difference there? Is that people who were here longer?
Correct. We've only had part-time campus security monitors for 2 years.
2 years,
So
okay.
those staff members that were here with us last year, they were put on step two.
Okay.
If this is their first year, they're on step one.
Well, first what jumped out at me was the difference in salary, and then as I looked at it, I realized that it was a different step, so that kind of made better sense to me. I'm assuming that we need them to be full-time more so because of the process in the mornings of getting everybody in. We need more people here at the same time as opposed to morning and afternoon shift. Is that how it was prior?
Correct. We now, in order to function with regard to our new metal detecting screening procedures, we need our full force. We'll need all 16 of them to help us in that endeavor. But we also, as you know, we've talked about this before, you'll see in the new hires, we have the part-time evening. And that was something that's been something that's been brought up before. I mean, we have a number of different programs going on here at the high school, from 3 o'clock on till, close to 9 o'clock. So making sure that all doors are locked and that people that come in, they are screened as well, is also very, very important.
So, okay, so that was really part of my question. So the section 18, the 2 part-time, that's for that
Yep.
evening?
That's for that, and then if our elementary schools should need their campus security monitor to stay after for a PTO meeting or a different type of function, now they're free to go ahead and do that because they're full-time employees, as before they couldn't because they were part-time employees.
Okay, so right now, we had shift in the morning, shift in the afternoon, and that will be everybody all day. So what will be the plan once the morning process is done of getting everybody in? How many per school, or like what will be there, are they stationed in specific
So-
areas like lunchrooms?
Yeah, so basically you would have, for instance, the middle school starts early on certain days because we have the literacy academies and the math academies. So we'll need somebody at the middle school beginning at around 6:30, 6:45. But we'll also, our high school students start showing up sometime around 6:45 too. So we'll need a crew to arrive around 6:45. However, what we'll do is we'll have probably our elementary, since they work a little bit later, our elementary campus security monitors, they'll show up at the high school around 7, help us with the screening procedures, and then move on to the middle school to help out with the screening procedures there. So the crew will just basically shift over. The high school people will stay at the high school while the other group goes to the middle school to get the screenings done there. And then once the middle school screening is done, they'll go back to their schools. And they'll remain there for their 8.5 hours.
And so prior, they were only there for part of the day?
Yeah, they were only there for 5.5 hours. 5.9, sorry.
Okay, any other questions on the superintendent's report? All right, hearing none, we'll open it up to public for any item that is on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Barbara Hill Cummins, 22 Schmidt Street. First of all, I just want to comment about the future business leaders, and I'm so happy you appropriated money, so I don't have to raise money for that, and it's part of the budget. I have several questions on the budget and the amount, and I was listening, but you don't have an average of how much it would affect each homeowner or the average homeowner. Am I right? You don't know what the increase will be?
Well, the average homeowner, based on our calculations as of October 15th, is $85.
$85.
Now, we're going to verify that to
Since
make
you're
sure
like
that that's...
50-some% of the tax bill, you know what I mean? The crust comes from the education costs other than the county and local. So it'd be an $85 increase on an average home. I didn't see on part of this, what is the amount that we received in federal and state aid towards our budget this year?
So state aid was $27,976,475?
Yep, that's on there.
27 million what?
$976,475?
She not have this copy?
And that's federal?
That's state.
State, what is federal?
The only federal we get would be E-rate, so,
Okay.
and that's pretty
title?
minimal. It's, I think I have maybe $150,000 in for that.
That's it from
It's a
federal?
reimbursement on what we spend.
Would a Title I, Title II, wouldn't that be considered
Oh,
federal?
right, but that's in the special revenue fund. So that's all of the special revenue fund is the $2,475,000.
Okay, last year I recall, because the last 2 or 3 years, last year you received state aid, but you received it on a Thursday, and you had to have it back to them. This was a Tuesday or so that you were getting the board approval of how it was expended and the amount.
That was the equalization aid, Mrs. Kilcummins, that we received last summer. That's different than the state aid.
Did we get that this year also?
We will, I highly doubt it, but if we were to get it, it would be in the summer.
Do you mean, are we getting it again in July, or did we get it within this state aid number?
No, will we get it again in July, whatever?
I highly doubt it. I think they figured out their formula that they want to use. But, I mean, if we were to get any more aid, it will probably be sometime like that.
But
Would
they
it be
didn't
the
take it
time-
away, did they? That, we still got that every year? That was like $1 million.
Yeah, that's still
We're still in
included.
here. Right,
Yeah,
it's
the
still in
aid that we
here.
got last year in July is still in.
It's still in there.
Oh, it's still there.
Correct.
Because it was just like how you were budgeting it and spreading it out. Over the last 3 years, what I have noticed is just an increase of administrative costs. I haven't been here for every budget presentation, but what I've observed, and through the years of coming to board meetings for like 30 years, we have had such an increase in administrative cost, yet we haven't had a huge increase in enrollment. And I just don't think it's justified that we have to hire all these additional administrative positions and what it's costing us, because the salaries are a heck of a lot larger than they are for the average teacher. And it just seems, I think it's a lot of unnecessary positions that you're burdening the taxpayers with. And when I look at these budgets, I mean, for the last few years, do they still have a cap? I know we had a cap on the superintendent's salary, and then they raised it. It couldn't go over 200,000, am I correct?
Correct. Well, it varies based upon district size.
In districts and enrollments.
Correct.
That I understand. But do we still have a cap on what we spend? I mean, because New Jersey's taxes are outrageous. And I often said, I resent spending my money downtown. I don't resent spending money here as long as it's justified and necessary. And when I see that it's a lot of unnecessary expenditures, that bothers me, especially being a senior citizen on fixed income. And I see the taxes just go up, up, up. And the people of New Jersey cannot afford it. And it's not just me, a senior citizen. I feel sorry for the new married couples, the young first home buyers, trying to get a home. And I mean, and it's outrageous what we have to pay in taxes. And it seems like nobody's putting the lid on it. Nobody's economizing. Nobody's cutting cost. It seems like everybody here and downtown, now there's just 1.6 million on more vehicles. It's just like drunken sailors, just spend, spend, spend. And nobody's looking to cut cost, to think about the local homeowners. No wonder the people are fleeing the state. I don't blame them. It's very costly to live in New Jersey. We're the highest tax. But I just wanted to know too, is there a cap on a budget that you're only supposed to go over a certain percentage? Do they still have that? It used to be, I think, 2%.
It is still a 2% cap, and then there is a health benefits and what enrollment is I mean, we're not taking the enrollment one,
Right.
but there are two waivers that you could apply. One is for insurance costs, one is for enrollment.
And Mrs. Cummins, to answer your question with regard to, is there an administrator cap? Yes, there is. There's a cap on the amount you can spend for administration. That currently in the state is $13,227,667. In Sayreville, we spend $8,686,054, which is $4,541,613 less than the cap.
Well, is that cap again based on average enrollment in average schools or
That's
for us.
That's for us.
Our district.
for our
Our
district?
administrative cap is designed for us, and we're $4,541,613 below it.
Okay. Have we stayed within the cap of our budget? I mean, I haven't followed the figures of attending each one and all. Did we stay within the 2% cap?
We are at 2.27, and the 0.27 is insurance, medical benefits. But that's not finalized yet either, because we haven't gotten our final premiums yet, so there may be an adjustment to that one. I wouldn't expect it would go higher. If anything, it would go lower.
Well, last year, didn't we save money on a different broker, or 2 years ago, getting a different broker and saving money on insurance?
I think that was, what, 2 years ago?
So does that still hold true, or are we still?
But that's year over year. We're looking at a comparison of this year versus last year.
I know, I mean, the pension costs and the benefits is blowing everybody out of the water. I understand that. And that where it comes in the state of New Jersey, but it's just like tightening up our purse strings, be it here and downtown. So, the other thing is, I want to thank who's ever doing the sign out front of all the information provided. And I received comments from other people. They say, oh, we really know what's going on there, so.
It's
does
a
that have
daily
to do
battle,
with the
though.
new principal?
It's
Pardon
a-
me?
Oh, I can tell the new principal that. It's a daily battle, though, because that sign is so intermittent. We just had, Mr. Glock Malloy just had his engineers come out this morning with Mr. Comensberger's maintenance workers to try to figure out why it goes on sometimes, why it shuts off. But Ms. Romero, one of our assistant principals, is very diligent about making sure that she's loading that information up on a time, in a timely manner to make sure that
Well, it's
all of our
certainly an
residents get it.
improvement, and I appreciate it.
I will pass that
wanna
along.
thank
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
And another comment to the new principal, that they're very happy with you. I speak to a lot of staff members. Believe it or not, I still know, even though the retired ones, I know the current ones, and I'm not giving away any of my informers, but they're very well pleased on how the school is running and everything else.
I'll
So,
let him know.
Okay. I'll let him.
We're also getting our money's worth because he's not getting any additional compensation
that's
for
what
that position.
That's another thing I had.
Nor is he at cap.
Right. I know, yeah, it's not a cap, but this is funny too. I had to set even former teachers straight. They all thought he was receiving an extra stipend.
We know that rumor's out
I
there.
said, trust me, I go to the meetings, no, it's complete voluntary.
Mrs. Kilcummins, my wife heard that rumor and she got so excited she called me. I had to let her down and tell her it was false.
Now, what's wrong? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for, yes?
Khalib Sayed, 3 Sophie Street. Just wanted to say thank you on behalf of my friends and my children and other children of this community, Muslim community, for your consideration to put the Eid holiday on the schedule for 2020 and 2021. I know that is just a consideration right now, and the next step will come through, but from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of our friends here, just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have considered for this, and we are looking forward to have Eid al-Fitr days off for our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else on agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we'll close public, and I will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
So moved.
By Mrs. Bloom, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Callahan. Are there any remarks on the superintendent's report? Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Balco?
I'm going to be voting no on A number 13, page 3. Yes on all other items.
Mrs. Bacco?
I'll also be voting no on number 13, page 3.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mrs. Kenny? Yes. Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Syak?
Yes, with the abstention noted. Any committee reports which have met? I should say any committees that have met who wish to give a report. Let's try that again.
I have the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council.
Yes.
Met on March 13th. Big discussion since this immediately followed the first run through the metal detectors at the high school and a lot of the comments on Facebook. This committee really works very well in that respect because the parents, and I see Mr. Esposito shaking his head.
It's a good committee.
Parents have an immediate pipeline to the superintendent, so it really works well for them to say, well, we heard, and so on and so forth. So we talked about the hiring of Mr. Sprague and the changes in the security guards that their time that we approved tonight. We talked about the metal detectors, the lanyards for staff, students, anyone entering the building, and eventually the use of swipe cards. Dr. Labby spoke of the budget and some of the items that we are pleased to hear about, or the parents were, the buses, the addition of the minibus that will be
wheelchair capabilities. We talked about the additions and the grants. Dr. Shetty, I talked about the grants that we've been able to get. And we talked about the high school principal. We talked about the New Jersey performance reports. And we discussed the idea of varsity letters for such things as drama, choir, marching band, theater, FBLA, DECA, Odyssey of the Mind, Unified Sports, etc. And Dr. Labby did mention that in his report to us this week. The next parent university is next Monday with Mr. Sprague. And the next parent advisory meeting will not be until May 8th, but that will be an open session, not just the representatives, but anyone who wishes to come. Any questions?
The varsity letter piece, well, is that going to be discussed by student achievement further, or is it just parent feedback, or?
Yes, and then we would probably like to talk about that during governance.
With a policy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. So you'll take it up at student achievement first, and then we'll follow with policy. All right, other questions on the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council? Okay, thank you very much. Any other committees that have met that wish to give a report? Mrs. Bloom?
Yes, the Jersey School Board's Board of Directors, we had our meeting on Friday. Basically, it was just a recap of the previous meeting. They talked about establishing a relationship with the Air Force that we already have with the military. They talked about getting the new Cobalt management system up and running. It should be done by the first quarter of 2020. They also said that the increase in their budget was 1.7% and that there will be, for the 10th year in a row, no increase to dues to districts because they have many non-dues sources of revenue. And these are a lot of companies that support the workshops and the training sessions that they do. They also gave a report on the path to progress from Senator Sweeney, and I caution them on being very careful about the benefits, the health benefits and the pension reforms, because Senator Sweeney has put out information but no plan. And the problem that they needed to be aware of, and I know they are, but I kind of just reinforced, was that with the hits to the pension and the health benefits, that we are getting a lot of people who are not going to be teachers. And so they need to be aware that anything that affects the benefits and the outcome of the position is going to affect the kids that wanted to be teachers who maybe will change their mind. So they did say that they were aware of that, and hopefully they can work on that side of the table to kind of edge off Senator Sweeney. But the cap of the evening was that since Kevin has now completed his year as immediate past president, they honored him with a lovely plaque for his 25 years of service to New Jersey school boards. So it was kind of his final meeting. Are you going to come to any more meetings?
No,
Sure.
I'm good.
I'll leave me swinging by myself. Thank you.
Yes.
But it was a very nice honor for Kevin at the end, so.
Good, thank you. Any other committees that have met that wish to give a report? Okay, is there any other business that needs to be discussed?
I have a question. Would it be possible to get a personnel report of quantity of people we've had, say, like in the past 6 years, and the change in, like, say, by category,
Like a
administrators,
headcount report.
teachers? We have it?
No, I said like a head count report.
Yeah, but I would like it, like, by administrators, teachers, support staff, if you could break it down and say where we've been, like, say, in the past 5 or 6 years.
There is a report similar to that in the audit every year.
Does it have it broken down?
Yeah.
Could you direct me
Yeah,
where that is?
It's in the J schedules. It's an unaudited report. And I know we've talked about this in the past. Our old software was very difficult to get that information from. 'Cause it
So
didn't
where
retain-
does it come from in the audit report? Who produces it?
Between personnel office and my office.
Oh, so it
was
comes
something
from
that we
you.
had to manually calculate every year. It wasn't like a report that we could just run. So we had to kind of tie into it between leave of absences and things like that.
All right, but it would just be the current year one?
Every year, it's going to show
Right, so
that.
can
I
you-
think there's actually history in there that might give you the past 10 years.
That's 10 years?
Page 148.
Okay.
Is it 10 years on that one, too? I know
Yes,
a
it
lot
goes
of them
back
are.
to 2008.
Page 148, and does it have by type of employee, or?
Yes, it's got instruction, regular, special ed, other instruction, support services,
Do they have
administrative IT,
Okay.
school administrator services, general administrative services.
There could also be a difference between when Emilio was here versus when I was here. When I got here, I didn't have his records for how he broke everybody out into those different categories. So there could be
Right,
a
but if
little
there's a
bit of difference.
10-year in there,
It's 10 years, yeah.
but it would be, like, his numbers are in there and your numbers. You
Yes.
didn't change anything,
No,
so
you
whatever's.
can't go back and
Right,
change
okay,
it.
so whatever's in there, if I went back to a audit report 10 years ago, it should match
Yeah.
that particular one.
Yeah. So the
All right.
totals, but the breakout might be a little.
All right, so if I looked at
different
the
from when he did
total,
his versus
is there a total in there, Kevin?
I believe so,
Yes,
yeah.
859 as of last year.
Okay, all right, page 148, and that's this current year one that we just got?
Yes.
That we just voted on tonight? All right.
Yes.
All right, I have another question. Dr. Labby, I got it, I don't know if you got one, but there was an email that we received. It was a very lengthy email about metal detectors, and there was studies in there. Did you get that?
Yep.
Did everybody get that email?
Yes.
The board got that email.
The board got it. Did you get it, or?
One of the board members forwarded it to me.
Okay, did you read it in depth, or do you have any?
I think the person.
Yes, and
That individual's actually here tonight.
And I
so-
spoke,
Oh.
I spoke to the author of it as well.
I'm sorry, I
I
couldn't hear.
spoke to the author of it as well.
You did? Okay, and,
And I apologize too, because I captured that in my highlights this afternoon, which I sent to the board, and apparently nobody got them. So it's caught up in an email queue someplace.
well, it's okay, if you sent this afternoon, I probably wouldn't have read it anyway. Okay, all right, so the person's here, so I'll just wait then.
Yeah, don't steal his thunder.
All right, any other items for discussion?
No, it is a discussion. I just want to comment on, that it's the calendar. I just wanted to say, we talked about it, you know, and I met with these gentlemen, and I know everybody on this board did, and just, you know, in lieu of recent events and how scary the world is in certain places, I always said, we're not perfect in Sayreville, but we get a lot right. And I've said it before, if you come in our cafeteria and you see our kids sitting together in harmony, and I've said it before, you know, the world should be like the Sayreville cafeteria. There's just, you know, it's just kids being kids, not with labels. I thought this was a great step, and I mean, I want to thank everybody on the board. I mean, everybody on the board was for this, but I give you guys the credit because you did what a community should do. You came out, you spoke to us eloquently, and gave us real good reasons why I think. So it was a good first step, and I'm just excited that we made what I think is a really good change, and you know, a good change for our kids, and for everybody to keep learning about each other, and it's good stuff. So thanks, guys. Thanks for calling.
I think Dr. Labby would agree the world should be like the Sayreville cafeteria for the first 25 minutes.
Stay away from the terrible 20.
Any other board member comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll open it up to public on any item concerning the district. If you wish to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And here is the distinguished aforementioned gentleman.
I did want to thank Dr. Labby for reaching out to me. I do appreciate that. I know he's busy. You guys have him doing like 2, 3, 4 jobs, so I appreciate the time. Also want to thank some of the board members who I spoke to about this. 43 Harrison Street. My name is Michael Heidelberg, lifelong resident of Sayreville. I have 2 students currently in the district and class of 1995 Sayreville High School. I'm here today to strongly oppose the policy regarding the implementation of the new metal detectors in the upper schools. I respect the board's concern with school safety and its work to ensure that no stone is left unturned in this area. I have no doubt the Board of Education considered recommendations from the Sayreville Police Department and others. However, let me begin by quoting the final report on the Federal Commission on School Safety, which is a joint study by the U.S. Department of Education, Homeland Security, and Health and Human Services issued in December 2018 after the Parkland, Florida shooting. It states that schools are first and foremost places of learning. When designing physical safety measures, schools should ensure that the primary educational mission is not sacrificed for enhanced security. Also from the same report, metal detectors are labor-intensive, time-consuming, and costly, as we found out tonight. Sorry, I lost my spot. The impact of metal detectors, of X-ray machines, and similar screening technologies on school violence is questionable, with at least one study concluding that metal detectors have no apparent effect on reducing violence on school grounds. Federal report stated this. The Journal of School Health reviewed over 128 research papers regarding the impacts of metal detector use in schools, insights from 15 years worth of research, and the conclusion stated there is insufficient data in the literature to determine whether the presence of metal detectors in schools reduces the risk of violent behavior among students. And some research suggests that the presence of metal detectors may detrimentally impact student perceptions of safety. Another study conducted after the Sandy Hook massacre noted that the presence of metal detectors in schools negatively impacts students' perception of trust and safety and even increases fear among students. There are no requirements for metal detectors in New Jersey school security legislation, and in PL 2016 C-79, which requires certain school security measures be incorporated in the architectural design of new school construction, metal detectors are not mentioned in the 19 recommendations. The New Jersey School Security and Task Force report and recommendation speaks about metal detectors in recommendation number 26 and leaves this open to the discretion of the school district. However, it is very clear in the report that there is no consensus on this issue. Like the federal report, the state report speaks about the issue that metal detectors are labor-intensive, again, as we found out tonight, time-consuming, and costly. The report also says that metal detectors are not efficient in detecting objects within a bag, often necessitating an X-ray or a hand search, which holds up wait times. The recommendation in the state report talks about ensuring an adequate area for waiting lines, which we saw issues during the pilot day in Sayreville, as if there's a line forming, you have students exposed outside in an unsecured area. Furthermore, even when metal detectors are installed, this is no fail-safe. More than once, students were shot in schools with metal detectors, such as in Minnesota and Atlanta. I urge the board to read Dr. Gassick's research study on metal detectors and feeling safe at schools from UMass. He finds that the use of metal detectors is significantly correlated with students' fear in school. He states that metal detectors bestow an organizational stigma to schools which can cause an effect that has the potential to undermine schools' aims by unintentionally increasing rather than decreasing school violence. The research is simply not clear that metal detectors provide enough of a positive safety measure as to not disrupt the primary educational mission of the school. But let me take this academic research out of this for a second, and the consensus or lack consensus expert recommendations. I know these conclusions are valid because that's what my daughter said. She asked me if she was doing something wrong by going to school. Is this the message we want to be sending to our students at the schoolhouse gate? Other safety solutions offer additional benefits where the primary educational mission is not sacrificed for enhanced security, including one that the district has implemented with great cost. With the implementation of police in schools, school safety is considered, but the added benefit is students get to know the police officers on a personal level, develop trust, and begin to form a positive image they can carry to adulthood. In fact, this is one of the major recommendations from various school safety reports. To quote the federal report, the school personnel best positioned to respond to acts of violence are school resource officers. Their presence at school facilities and on campus allows them to build the kind of relationships with students that can prevent or mitigate incidents of school violence. In every safety training that I have been in, I can tell you the major point from law enforcement is that alert school staff having a strong relationship with students and warning authorities when something is missed is the #1 way that school tragedy is averted. I find it concerning tonight as we just approved almost $500,000 in school safety specialist salary and benefits on the same week that the New Jersey school performance reports came out. Our middle school scored an unacceptable 26, 10 points lower than some surrounding schools. Our high school and upper elementary schools also ranked low. That $500,000 could have been used for 5 teachers at the middle school, 5 reading specialists, 5 math intervention teachers. $500,000 for the the 5 teachers teaching 5 periods a day could reach 625 students. $500,000 for the primary educational mission of our schools. I asked the Board of Education, when creating these school safety policies, consider the impact that these school safety measures have on the emotional well-being of our students and the primary educational mission of our schools. As you are, continue to follow the consensus expert recommendations. Construct the vestibules, have a single point of entry for visitors, install the bulletproof glass, install panic button, run many and various drills, secure the exteriors with automatic alarms that can only be accessed by key cards, put alarms on every exterior door, add dozens of security cameras at every access point, but don't put in metal detectors. To my knowledge, there's no research or consensus expert recommendation that shows the potential benefits of this costly security procedure is worth the proven detrimental effect on student development. I know this board is doing the right thing. They really are. You guys are an amazing board. You have a great superintendent. But I think in this case, it's a little bit too far. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public?
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry about how I look. I just came from home.
That's
But,
okay. Just give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Harshal Trivedi. I'm an alumni from 2018.
Okay.
I live at 38 Small Street in Sayreville. To begin with, I would just like to thank Dr. Labby and the board. I'm not sure if you guys were part of it, but for implementing the National Art Honor Society and implementing the Hosted Competition Club that we initiated, or that you guys were able to initiate this year. Furthermore, when I participated in the host competition, I was able to meet with Ms. McCabe, who is the current advisor, and she had told me that we are, the board, or she mentioned Dr. Labby's name, where you guys are trying to implement a health expo. Are you able to elaborate a little more on that? Because I'm really interested in it, as I am pursuing biomedical engineering on pre-med track, and I know a lot of these kids here are very interested in pursuing the medical field, and I think that would be a really great initiative.
It's a great question. We are exploring it. Another community member came to me and asked me about potentially putting together a health and fitness expo here at the high school. The only thing that's holding us up right now with regard to that, in fact, I just had a meeting with that individual, is the track. We need to get the track installed as soon as possible. So the time that we are thinking of doing this health and fitness expo would be June. Right around graduation. We were thinking of doing it before graduation, but I've been recently told that it's going to take a good 8 to 10 weeks to construct the track. And we have to have that track finished by September 1. So the Health and Fitness Expo might be delayed a little bit to the fall if we do it. But we definitely want to do something. We are so blessed in Sayreville to have so many different organizations and agencies that are focused on improving health and wellness. We've already reached out to a good 30 to 40 of them, and they are very interested in coming and providing the residents of Sayreville an opportunity for them to come out and see what their agency's about, see what their organization's about, see what kind of services are being provided. So if you want, give me your name and information, and you can be part of our coordinating team.
So my interpretation of that health expo was not as what I expected to be. So I'm part of a club called AMSA, or Alpha Epsilon Delta, which is a pre-med service frat or group where we peer leader, or we lead up-and-coming freshmen and other high schoolers into the medical field, where if they need a resume critique session, or if they're looking for an internship or a job into the medical field, such as a scribe, a clinical tech, or even EMT, as myself and Mr. Hockman are. I was thinking about more on that basis, where we're able to start a group where you are able to invite companies like Robert Wood Johnson, Johnson & Johnson, and companies like those who are able to expand their network, and so are able to, and also these kids are able to expand their network into these companies, so that later on, when they are already in college, they already know what to be pursuing, what credentials those companies are looking for, so that they have a head start.
So that sounds like it's more geared to our new career and technical education program. In fact, we just had a speaker come today, a former graduate from Sayreville War Memorial High School, that spoke to our students. He is now the head facilities and operations, I think he's the director at MetLife Stadium. So that's something that we could still do, but it's probably something that we could do through the career and technical education program. But I like the idea, and it's one that I think our students would greatly benefit from.
I just feel like if there's just not enough initiation between the students now, because I know from my own experience, I was the only one, or me and a few others who are leading the class. There were only a couple of us that wanted to initiate such programs, even take part in a science competition, math competition, things like that, and there just wasn't enough initiation, and we didn't have that support from the board or the teachers. And I feel like since you guys have started that vision now, you guys would be ready to, or more than be ready to accommodate such clubs and things like that.
And you spoke about our Health and Occupation Students of America Club. They took sixth place in their competition.
Right,
And it was their first competition. They did a great job.
Right, and I was able to take first
And I
place.
think I think they got, one team got first place for their public service announcement, but you did too?
Yeah, so I actually placed first in medical innovation, which is my club, and I also got first place in the amount of community service hours that I've taken part in. So things like that, where the students or even the students who were taking part at that competition, they were lacking those community service hours, and reaching out to these companies where they can say that, yes, if you can come volunteer for us, or even maybe take like a tour, or a week internship, or just to see what things are like in our company, to see if they interest you and what you're pursuing. That would be more beneficial.
Thank you.
Okay, and
If you can give me your contact information, I'd like to stay in touch with you.
I definitely would too. And one other thing was more of like a general thing, but going back to the initiation of such competitions and clubs. Last year, when I was graduating, I was able to reach out to Mr. Coleman, Ms. Vasquez, and a couple other teachers where they were leading like the math competition club, science club, things like that. And for the past couple of years, we've been trying to get a science fair here. As just recently last year, we started an engineering club. And things like that, just going back onto this mentorship. There were this mentorship of alumni coming back and trying to tell these undergrad, or I keep on saying undergrad, but these high schoolers, what the real world is like, and what they should be focusing on, and what clubs, how clubs should be run, and things like that. So, if you are able to have like a program where you are able to bring back alumni, such as myself, or students who were high in their class or very well-rounded in extracurriculars and academics, to come back and speak to high schoolers about what's actually needed to pursue and go far in the real world. Because I feel like coming here, I had to initiate that myself between my friends and some teachers, and there wasn't enough of it going around. So that is also another thing that I would like to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And you've got the ear of the high school principal, so
Last year, I was able to have that kind of communication with the previous principal, or it was actually kind of something that shone down to me. And knowing that someone else is here, I'm able to talk to you more about it, and looking at the initiatives that you take with that on our side, host a competition, I feel like there's more direct communication between the students and the principal, instead of just the principal.
thank you, and thanks for coming out
Thanks.
tonight. Anyone else wish to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll close public. I'm just going to respond on the metal detectors. First of all, I had a teacher actually back in December who teaches here at the high school say to me, Kevin, metal detectors, did you ever think you would see it in Sayreville? And my answer was no. I never thought I would see it in Sayreville, because Sayreville's always kind of been somewhat lost in time, in that no matter how much our community changes, it's that same old, close-knit community, no matter what the community itself looks like. And the changes that we're making now are not about the Sayreville community changing. It's about just what's going on outside in the world, and our ability to respond to it, and our ability to protect our children. I don't believe that metal detectors are fail-safe, and I know that I'm not going to change Mr. Heidelberg's mind, because I know the research that he's done, the time that he's put in, and I can hear the passion in your voice when you speak. So I know I'm not going to change your mind. I think what I take from you as you speak are the things that we could do to better implement this. The fact that your child came home and felt that, they did something wrong to have to go through this experience, that's an opportunity for us. And that's an opportunity for us to educate our students, to make sure that they know that this isn't something that they've done wrong. This is something that is in response to a society, and it is response to us caring so much about them that we want to make sure that they're safe and that they have a safe environment to go to. The purpose of the pilot was to debug this process, because you're right, we don't want students standing outside in a long line, because that also makes them a target. So this was about debugging this so that we can work through the challenges that we face. So I appreciate the feedback, and we're going to continue to work through this. The Board Policy Committee meets on Friday to come up with policies regarding both visitor screening as well as policies regarding the implementation of metal detectors as we go live with this. And we're going to take into account your comments, in particular the ones about the social emotional health and the impact on our children as we develop those policies to make sure that we can implement this as best as we possibly can. Any other board members wish to make any comments or have anything else to discuss? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Mr. Walsh, second by Mrs. Bloom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
No one opposes that.